Some crimes fade with time. Others, they burn through the years like they just happened yesterday. June 1986, McComb, Mississippi. A quiet house on the corner of Highway 51 and Monroe Street held something the summer heat couldn't cover up. The cold-blooded execution of 4 people. No arrests, no answers, just questions that scream louder with silence. This is the ghosts off Highway 51, the murders of Stephen Ditcharo, Denise Mills, and the Moses brothers, McComb, Mississippi. Clifford Moses was 36, railroad man, lived in a house on Highway 51. His girlfriend, Denise Mills, just 23, vibrant, quiet, loyal, was there with him. His brother, Jeffrey Moses, 24, also stopped by. And so did a young man named Stephen Ditcharo, 24, well-liked, smooth, clean-cut, parked his yellow Beetle convertible at a store just a few miles from where the Moses brothers were staying, and rode his bicycle to Clifford's house that night. None of them left that house alive. It was 4 a.m. Saturday, June 28, 1986. Another brother of Clifford and Jeffrey Moses broke in through the door. Clifford and Jeffrey hadn't been seen in over a day, but their cars were in the yard, and Stephen's bicycle was leaning right outside the door. Inside the house, horror was waiting. 3 men lay on the kitchen floor, kneeling, hands behind their backs, all shot execution style, each one in the back of the head. Denise was found in the bathtub, mid-bath, same fate. The televisions were still on, shows still playing like time had frozen mid-scene. But the phone, it was off the hook. No forced entry, which means somebody let the killer in, or the killer was already there. A bedroom had been searched, but only one. The search was half-hearted, like the killer wasn't looking for cash. Or maybe they already knew what to look for. And yet, this wasn't a robbery. One of the brothers reportedly had $7,100 bills stuffed in his back pocket, untouched. A neighbor to Clifford Moses stated he didn't notice any strange activity at the house, yet horror was right next door. Rumors moved faster than justice ever would. Some said it was a drug deal gone wrong, or was it something bigger? Clifford Moses had pled guilty to marijuana possession in 1980. A few law enforcement confirmed but wanted to remain unnamed that Moses had graduated to trafficking cocaine, that he was under surveillance for almost over a year. Stephen Ditcharo's boss said Stephen came by that day. He said he desperately needed money for repairs to his car, but something was off. His eyes, his voice, like he knew the storm was coming. He left, rode his bike to that house, and vanished into a grave silence. In the years that followed, new sheriffs came and went, Dwayne Dillon, Tot Lawson, but one name kept showing up, Dick Wilson, former sheriff, later chief deputy, and longtime hunter of ghosts in the McComb case. He kept digging even when the case went cold, and especially when it got hot. At one point, a man named Patrick Smith offered to trade info about the murders for leniency on drug charges. He said what he knew could reach into very high places. A court case that had nothing to do with murder on paper suddenly peeled back the curtain. Patrick Smith, a man with a record for burglary and drugs, stood in court to be resentenced. Resentenced because the judge in the initial sentencing had made a mistake. But when his father, Samuel Smith, opened his mouth in that courtroom, the room caught fire. Patrick Smith's father, Samuel Smith, pointed a trembling finger at a former lawman, Dick Wilson. He accused Wilson of entrapment, corruption, and most of all, an obsession. Said Wilson had been chasing and stalking Patrick. Said he used a prostitute to lure Patrick into drug charges. Said this whole thing was payback from the past. But Dick Wilson wasn't just any man with a badge. He'd been investigating the McComb killings since the bodies were still warm. First as a private eye for the Ditcharo family, then as chief deputy under Sheriff Tot Lawson. According to Wilson, it was Patrick Smith who, in the dead of that June night in 1986, tipped off the Moses family to go check the house. It was Patrick Smith who supposedly knew more than he let on. And it was Patrick Smith, Wilson said, who offered to trade info on the murders in exchange for leniency on his drug charges. But when Wilson showed up to collect that confession, the story changed. Now Patrick had amnesia. The deal dissolved into thin air. No names, no charges, just silence. Again, Smith still did his time both for the burglary and the drugs. But that whisper from 1986 never quite left the air. Even decades later, Dick Wilson claimed he knew Patrick knew more. But with Wilson now buried and Sheriff Dillon gone too, the trail turned cold. Did Patrick Smith have memory loss, or was it a warning received? Some people tie this case to something even darker. They talk about the CIA. They talk about places like Mena, Arkansas. During that time, cocaine was flooding southern towns like McComb. Untraceable money, silent deals. If you were moving product through the South in the 80s, Pike County was wide open. And right around the time 4 people were killed execution style, a mansion was being built deep in the Mississippi woods. A place known as Joe Lamar today. Expensive, isolated. But if you can't connect the dots yourself, no investigation will. And 4 lives caught in the middle, but the deeper you dig, the more eyes turn away. The more doors close, and the more the silence starts to feel intentional. Stephen, Clifford, Jeffrey, Denise, no arrests, no justice. Just names on gravestones and a case file aging in the dark. Some say it was drugs, others say it was power. But everybody agrees, it was calculated. TV's still playing. Phone off the hook. Nobody screamed, nobody ran, just silence and precision. Some fires die out, but others, they never stop burning. Thank you for watching Themidnightburn. Follow and share for more true crime that's been forgotten. Until next time, catch the dice. They rollin'.